changing, rearranging. I see a beautiful day. It's coming my way. It's a beautiful day.
All right. Welcome. We are so excited. I am your host, ABL host, A Beautiful Life, Jaquita JQ Lee. And I tell you, it is a glorious day. And so I get a chance to actually interview one of my brothers in Christ. I tell you, I'm so excited for you all to hear from him. He is just, he's a big teddy bear. He is just an amazing man of God. And I'm so grateful for him being on ABL tonight. So I welcome Mr. Fritz Vellmet. Welcome, brother.
Hello. How you guys doing? Welcome me aboard.
We are great. We are so excited to have you on the show, as I said. And as I thought about this topic, I said, none better than Fritz to really speak from a heartfelt place pertaining to coming from the gang life to now just being a follower of Christ for real. And so this show was entitled, From the Streets to the Pews, and really understanding what a difference that our Savior makes. And so I want to jump right into this topic. But here's the thing, Fritz, I wanted to specifically have a different spin, and we often do that on A Beautiful Life in reference to this conversation, because oftentimes we have our views, right, about gang life and why do young men go into gangs, and how can they see that as family, and how can they see that as love? But I want to go in to really address the beforehand. What is it that's happening in their lives before they make that decision? And so through the thread of this conversation, we really want to be able to have that heart-to-heart conversation and just candid conversation about why it's even appealing to them. So I want to start off with you just sharing pertaining to your childhood growing up. What was your childhood like?
So growing up, my household was unstructured, so I did have a mom in my life. We didn't really have a father. We had a few people come into our life and play a role or whatever. Me and my siblings. So it was four of us, and then we also had three of my cousins that also lived with us too. And so one of the main things is we didn't have much structure. My mom did the best that she can, but there wasn't a lot of structure in the household. If she's not around, then anything goes. When she's around, of course, there was like certain structures, something you could and cannot do. But once my mom was gone, then, that went out the window. And so those are some things that open up doors, not just in my life, but in many other people's life too. Is when you have a household that's not structured, then you know how that goes down the line. And so that was part of my growing up was like I said, my mom was, she was there, she was effective. But when she was gone, which was a lot of time, it was unstructured, And so how it was growing up, my mom used to travel back and forth, and so she'll leave for like 6 months out of the year and then be home for 6 months. And so those 6 months that she was gone was just when we had a lot of time to ourselves, and that's when we got in the most trouble.
Okay, so in order to really make a living for her family, she would travel back and forth. Was it to Haiti?
To the Bahamas.
Oh, okay.
To the Bahamas at the time.
To the Bahamas. Okay.
Yes, and she was doing what they call like a merchant, but in Creole they call me commerce, but in English it's called a merchant. Like they go and they just sell things like school supplies, stuff like that, to make ends meet.
Right. And I think that's an interesting opening as well, because, with her at that time being a single parent, but doing what she needed to for her family, it required her to literally leave months at a time. And so you're talking about this immense freedom that you all had to really not have someone over you, and you're making these everyday decisions, but as young people, as children. And so talk to us a little bit about how were you first introduced to a gang?
Okay, so I'm gonna explain a little bit though. So the way the gang culture that I was in, which is the Haitian gang, the way it works with us is a lot different than your organized gangs, right? So Haitian gang is not so structured like how it is in other gangs. A lot of times, most Haitian gangs, kids grow up with each other, and whether it's on the same block, whether it's from elementary to high school, it's different ways though. And so like for me, that's kind of how it was with me though. A lot of the boys that I hung with and I became a part of was boys that we grew up with from elementary school, from being on the block with each other, from playing basketball and football in the streets and doing all this stuff. And as we got older, you know what I'm saying, we became a team, a clique. And then, as we got older and older, we became, a gang because, growing up, it does get tough. You run into situations where you got to get into fights with other kids, where you got to be a tough kid. And so all those things kind of had us form a gang. You know what I'm saying? And so my friends that I hung with and I banged with was kids that I knew from elementary school, elementary, middle school, and then of course high school, right? And then when we got to high school, that's when everything really when everything really got to that point where we became a clique, and from that point on it was a whatever, So pretty much that's how it was growing up.
And so as you even talk about the differences, like the fact that you all went from elementary school to high school, so we're talking about double-digit years of knowing someone. And so it's like they actually do become your family. And I think that's a great segue into really understanding that gang culture of a lot of times these young people have grown up with one another. And so you're out and about and something happens, somebody, confronts them or what have you, because you're looking at this individual as a family member, like you said, you're down for whatever. Talk a little bit about that transition to, you all being around one another, growing up, playing football, doing all of these activities, and then that transition in high school where you all are actually known in the community as, the Haitian gang.
So pretty much how it is like I said before, a lot of us were each other since elementary, and so what happens is, right, you begin to build that bond and different stuff because you hang with each other a lot, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I said before, like if one of your friends run into a situation, he knows that you got his back, it's a whole different ball game, And so what happened with a lot of us is, as we got older, we began to learn each other's characteristics and learn each other's ways, and we know that, okay, you know what? If let's say my friend name is Terry, if Terry gets in a situation, I know Terry's not a fighter, I'm a fighter, I'm gonna fight for Terry. If I need money and Terry gets money, Terry's gonna always look out for me with money. If you have so that's how it was. So for example, right, if it was 5 of us, right, and this is really how it was at my clique too. You had those that sell drugs, you had those that are fighters, those that are hustlers, right? Those that are your everyday funny guys, the ladies, man, you have all that in your clique. And so what happens is it's tick for tat, right? So if I look out for you in this area, you look out for me in that area, and it goes on, you know what I'm saying? So like for example, if I was in the ladies' man, you know what I'm saying, and let's say my friend Jonathan was a ladies' man, what happens is, whenever Jonathan had a female, he would also put me down with that female, and vice versa, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like for me growing up, this is me personally right now though, right? I was the fighter of the crew, you know what I'm saying? So I'm the guy that I won't let somebody try you, you know what I'm saying? It's somebody try you, we gonna fight, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, that was always my thing. And then I had some of my friends who their thing was breaking into houses. Some of my friends, their thing was selling drugs, breaking into cars, breaking into stores, So we had like different layers and different structures. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was never organized. But you know what I'm saying? But we always had each other's back some way, somehow.
And so when you talk about, gang culture, when you talk about that identified roles that everyone had, and we often talk about guiding those skills that people have into other means, right? So somebody who's a fighter, we might introduce them to boxing and doing it, legitimately. Someone who, is the comedian, right? We might introduce them to activities that can foster that and build them and gift them. A lot of this conversation, and I want to go here for a moment, Fritz, because when you think about some of the voids oftentimes that our young people are experiencing, coming from urban areas, a lot are in single parent homes. And so, because mom is oftentimes the one who is in the head of that household. She's doing everything that she can to make sure that the lights stay on, that they have a roof over their heads, that they're eating, right? And so therefore, because she's not there, talk a little bit about what do you feel is that need that a lot of times that these young men are feeling as to why they're now making that decision to be connected and identified with the gang versus what their mom has instilled in them at home?
So one thing is a sense of belonging. You know what I'm saying? That's one. Then you have lack of resource, right? You have lack of guidance. I'm saying because a mother can't do it on her own. You know what I'm saying? Because what a mother can give, a father can't give you. What a woman can give you, a male figure can't give you. You know what I'm saying, and vice versa. And so you have different situations that these kids come from their background that lead them down that path. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, the biggest one is being accepted. You know what I'm saying? Being accepted. You know, honestly, if we're gonna be honest, today's in this generation, if you're not accepted, you feel like you're a nobody. And so everyone wants to be accepted. And so a lot of times is if my mom can't buy me $500 pair of shoes, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm not accepted. And so what I have to do is I have to go to another means and be able to get that, right? And so what the gang life gives you is it gives you those alternatives. That's true. You know what I'm saying? It is that it comes with a price. You know what I'm saying? So the gang life will give you money. The gang life will give you it'll give you acceptance. It'll give you females. It'll give you clout, rank, however you want to see it. It'll give you these things. It just comes with a consequence. And so a lot of times what happens is a lot of these young men, I work with kids now and I see it in my work life. They come from different backgrounds where they want to be accepted. They want somebody to look at them and say, hey man, Fritz, you the man, hey Fritz, you got it together, and the reality of it is, like they don't see no other way but the street life to get to that place. You know what I'm saying? Right. And now, even though your mom is teaching you the value of working hard, the value of being clean and being, and being on point with whatever you do. They give you all these things, but they don't give you what you want. They give you what you need, but like what you want, it suppresses your needs sometimes. If I want to look cool, that's good. All that stuff, I'm not going to get that from my household. That's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? My mom ain't gonna see that as valuable like I do. My mom probably never even been like, for me growing up. My mom never did any drugs or drunk. She never even got drunk before. That was on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times what happens is these kids, a lot of these kids and young men and different people, they want the things that look appealing. And rappers do the best at that right now. Rappers make everything look appealing. But that's what these kids want. These kids want the glory. They want the glory. They want the glory for themselves, not for anybody else. I want to be the man. I want to be the person with all the work. I want to be the person everybody come to. So yeah,
that's
man.
so good. I want to park on something that you said in reference to the needs versus the wants, because we know that those parents who are working hard, having that level of stability as far as those children knowing that they have a home to come to every day, they are meeting a need. But there is this want that is driving oftentimes our young people, the want to be, as you said, accepted, the want to be validated, right? Like these are the people who are in your neighborhood. These are the people that you see every day. And so you want to be accepted by them. Let's talk a little bit, Brother Fritz, about that transition for you of understanding I'm at this crossroad where I grew up with these people. There were times they had my back. There were times where, it got real sticky and it could have gone another way and they had my back. But I have to transition out of this. What was that experience like for you?
So once again, this is a blessing with the culture that I was a part of. I can't speak for everybody else because it's hard for some people. So I was a part of the Haitian culture, which is not so structured like how it is in California, places like that, right? So when it came to transitioning out, my biggest challenge was myself. I had to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have people tell me, "Oh, you can't leave or you're gonna get killed." I had to make a decision. It was a decision, though. It was very, very hard because I had to let go of a lot of childhood friends that brought me a lot of childhood joy. You know what I'm saying? That we did a lot of stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Things that I'm saying, like, wasn't pleasing when I look at it, but it glorified me when I was in that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was looked upon like, man, like, Fritz is that man when it comes to this, that. I had to let go of all that stuff, and I had to take on a whole new mentality. That didn't glorify me anymore. You know what I'm saying? It was no longer about me. But for me, I had to look at it like this. I had to look at it like, man, like, I seen things in my life that traumatized me. And it's like, if I chose to stay in that route, right, I'd have been 38 years old still in that route. I'd have been a dead man on the inside. And so I had to make a decision. I said, you know what? In order for me to live, not just in the natural, but in the spiritual, you know what I'm saying? I had to make a decision, a life-altering decision. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I've learned is the difference is considered the same, but you can change. And so I had to make a change. And with that change, it came a lot of hard times, but it was a change that bettered me now, because I look at it now, like 50 years later, and I'm like, man, to God be the glory, because I'm no longer who I was at all. There's no residue of me at all. And for me, it came because when I transitioned, I had to make a decision. I had to say, man, Fritz, you can still do some of the things that you used to do, or you can change completely and not look back at it. That's what I had to do. The toughest thing for me was losing a lot of my friends. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, it's never been the same. Like, some of them I see now, some of them I don't see, and when I see them, it's like, hey, what's going on? And that's it. And these are people I grew up with from childhood. Like I said before, we had like a lot of childhood memories together. But I had to make a decision, and it was a hard decision. But my transition was, to God be the glory, it was not as crazy as it would be in other situations.
And you bring up a valid point, because we know that in more organized gang, a lot of times they say that they have to actually be beat out of it. Some of them have even lost their lives, things of that nature. So it really will take, an act of God in that person's life, oftentimes, for them to make that decision to transition. And when you talked about, having known you for a few years now, I remember you talking about, seeing really traumatic things happen, losing friends, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and things going left. Talk to us a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had where, you have actually had near-death experiences. Man, I had
a lot, you know what I'm saying? But one that I remember so vividly, this is right before I got saved, actually, right? Man, I remember we was in a shootout, so it's like back and forth shooting at each other, right? I was a driver of one vehicle, and then we was beefing with some other dudes, right? And it's a shootout, and I'm telling you, like, it's gun battle. I hear pop, 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 going back and forth. And I'll never forget, man. And I was driving the car, and I'm driving the car, and I can hear the tires, like, because the tires got blown out, and I can hear the tires like squeaking on the front, all this good stuff, right? And I remember we end up stopping somewhere, and we got the car. Nobody in the car got hit, and there was like 3 bullets lodged in the little thing that you have in your car, the little thing that you can put down like a visor, the little visor thing. I remember there was bullets lodged in the visor. There was bullets lodged in the car doors, right? And I'll never forget, boy, that day I was like, boy, if I don't believe in God, boy, I believe in him today. Nobody got hit. You know what I'm saying?
My God.
I had few situations, but that was like that one situation that was like the turning point for me. I was like, oh my God, I had situations where I remember a month before I got saved, man. I'll never forget. I was in the club, and we beefing with some kids from the other side of town. And like, I'm in the club at this point in my life, I'm already like shifting my mindset. I don't want to do this anymore. And so we get in the fight in the club, It's like 50 dudes jumping on my head, right? I'll never forget. I'm getting jumped. I'm fighting, but I'm getting jumped. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting like tossed around. You know what I'm saying? And kicking me with everything about Nikes, Reeboks, Adidas, Fila, whatever you can think about. And I'll never forget. I get up after I start sprinting away from the situation. I look down and it's like a two-story place. I literally jumped down from the second floor, jumped down to the first floor just to try to get away and landed down. I'll never forget. Once again, I fell down or whatever, and I'll never forget. The security guard grabs me, he throws me out of the club, right? Now, most people be like, man, what in the world? But I'll never forget, when I made that club, I was like, what? I could have been dead in there, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to change my life ASAP. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I have a lot of stories. I'll be here for days, you know what I'm saying? But those are the ones that got to me like a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget those situations because those were the turning point in my life, you know what I'm saying? Because one thing I've learned about God is he gonna open you up. Like, if you don't want to do it, he'll do it for you. And I'll never forget, my eyes opened up wide when those moments like that. I was like, okay, you know what? I need to really change my life for it because this is not working for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been at it since I was about maybe like 11 or 12, I don't remember. And like, you know what I'm saying? I need to change, you know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget, like, one day I'm sitting in my backyard and I'm smoking. And I'm like, man, I'm done with this lifestyle. I never forget. That was like the day I decided to make that change in my mind. And of course, I went to church a few days later, and I gave my life to the Lord. And I never looked back since. But those are the 20 points in my life.
You know what, Fritz? As you say that, it makes me think about the thoughts that some young man right now who is in the gang life, and him knowing I'm not supposed to be here, right? Him knowing like my life was spared time and time again, him knowing that he has been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he's in that impasse, he's in that place where he can go left, he can continue going left or go right. And so after those experiences that you had, and you said 2 days later, you know, you went to church, talk a little bit about how that came about.
So on my journey in my gang life, I lost a lot of friends. Honestly, I lost a lot of friends. A lot of people got killed or whatever. But there was a particular situation, right? I had a friend that I was real close to. I was like this with him, right? And what happened was there was a year, you know what I'm saying, where he lost his life. You know what I'm saying he went to the MLK parade and got in a situation with some dudes out there, and they took his life. I'll never forget, right? That was a turning point for me because a lot played in my mind. You know what I'm saying? One, this somebody that was very close to me, and then the thing is, I'm like, man, like it's like we had some situations together because he was a part of that show. I was telling you about. We had some situations together. When that happened, I said, man, God, like you know, like there's more to life than just this. That's what I said. Like, there's more to life than just me living the way I'm living, going through what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? Everyday experience what I'm experiencing. There's more to life than just this. And I never forget. I said that I thought about it. I'm like, man, like, and once again, I think about situations where I'm like, man, like I could have been dead. I could have been in deeper situations. You know what I'm saying? And like, I was like, man, like God spared me a lot of time. So I said, you know what, like. I began to evaluate my life, and I said, one day, I said, man, like, I really wonder what I have to offer. If I live to see the next 10 years, what would that look like? I never forget this now. I'm telling you, it's a true story now. I said, what would that look like? I said, man, like, if I gave myself the opportunity to do something different, how would my life be?
Come on, sir.
And I never forget. I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. That was my mindset. I said, I'm gonna give it a try. If it don't work out, I'll probably go back. JQ, I'll never forget. My life completely changed from that day forward. Cause I said, man, you know what? I don't want to live like this. I see how my friend died, and it was brutal. And I remind you, JQ, he wasn't even living the thug life like how I was living.
Mm.
And I said, man, this guy lost his life. And they had me to evaluate mine. You know? And I said, you know what, God, like, you're a God of a second chance. I'm gonna try this thing out. If it work out, I'm not looking back. And I'll never forget, man. Like I said before, a few days later, maybe a month or two later, I was going through that. I was crying. On the inside, I was crying. That little boy, that little Fritz, came back. I was crying day in and day out. I'll never forget. It was like what? Maybe like April 2007, I think it was. I was like, man, I gotta change. I kept saying to myself, I get locked up for a little while because I had a bench warrant from prior. While I'm in jail, I'm like, I gotta change. This stuff is going on. And by December of that year, going to January, my mind was already made up. Like, yo, this next year ain't gonna be the same. And I give my life to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? January of that year, either 06 or 07. I don't remember. But I know one thing, my life ain't been the same since. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got some ups and downs. You know what I'm saying? I'm still a convicted felon, but my life ain't been the same since. You know, so to God be the glory.
Come on now.
You know, it is, because I can't do it myself.
And that's it. Like, it is this freedom that we get from a true surrender, like really yielding to him. It's so interesting to hear you talk about your friend and you know, where he lost his life at an MLK parade, you know, where we are supposed to be honoring a man of nonviolence. And, you know, here this young guy is not doing half the things that you're doing, yet he loses his life, you know. And so it really brings a lot into perspective. It really brings a lot in your face that you really have to deal with. And I want to go here, Brother Fritz, because as you know, begin to transition and now, you know, you're feeling the void, you're feeling like something has to give. I think what was such a powerful statement that you made when you said, what could my life look like in 10 years if I took another course? And I think that that's a very important part for these young men to see, because oftentimes when we are so consumed with so much negativity around us and so many things are going around, you know, where, you know, bullets are flying and we're in this atmosphere where we feel like we're never going to be able to get out of this, right? Oftentimes, I think it is they're not thinking about 10 years from now, because in their minds, I'm doing whatever it takes to survive. And so I want you to talk to that young man right now who is grasping in his mind, like, there has to be more. What would my life look like in 10 years? I want to spotlight you for a minute and have you just talk directly to them pertaining to what that shift was for you.
So, but before I do that, I do want to make that point. I do want to make that point that you said, JQ. Truth be told, growing up, they show you live day to day. You know what I'm saying? But there's so much more to life than day to day. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you can live past 18. You can live past 16. You know what I'm saying? You can live past 21. You know, I'm gonna say it like this. I'm put it like this. Evaluate your life, right? Take a look at your life. Look at what you've been through. Look at where you come from. Look at your background. Evaluate your life. You know, I guarantee you, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself and say, hey, if I could live to see the next 5 years, right? What would it look like? Challenge yourself. You know what I'm saying? Say that to yourself. You know, look past everything. You know, look past everything and just say, man, hey, if I could live to see the next 5 years, what would that look like? Is my life worth me living? You know, I guarantee you and I promise you, you're gonna see something that's so much more than just what you see today. Because if I stayed in myself when I was a kid, I would not be here today, because they counted me out when I was supposed to be 14, 15 years old. And I did the same thing. I didn't care about living. But God gives us a conscience, and He gives us the ability to really think. Give yourself 5 years. I guarantee you. It'll be worth it. Because you will say this. You'll say this one thing. You'll say, you know what? I have a purpose. You know, when every JQ, even right now, every single day, I'm praying for young men because I'm like, man, these young men don't want to live anymore. But you have a purpose. I'm telling you, God is able.
Yes.
There's a purpose.
Yes.
For every single man, there's a purpose. You are somebody.
Yes.
You are uniquely made, but you are somebody. You are somebody. And I pray that, man, listen, bro. I pray that God reveals it. Well, I know God will reveal it. I know God will reveal it, but I pray that you see it. That's what I would say.
Amen. Amen. That they truly receive that, because it is when you begin to put that hope before you, that the goals before you, the desire to be better and do better, it makes the difference. And it really drives home that point of what you said, like to really do that soul search. You know, did I come into this world when so many have been aborted, where so many were stillborn, where so many, never got a chance to even live out a childhood? The fact that I'm here, the fact that you young men are here speaks to there being purpose to your life. And so I want to segue, because you have this beautiful story. I remember we attended the same church at one point in time, and we would do street ministry. And, it was just, I always loved watching you. Like, we know you, this jolly, I just never seen you upset, never seen you, sad or what have you. You always was just a picker up for everyone. So just to see what God has done transition wise in your life is really, really a beautiful, remarkable thing, right? But I always remember just moments being out doing street ministry with you, and you seeing people from your past and the way in which they, acknowledge you. It was just like such a level of respect, and it wasn't like you were looking at them as in a condemning manner or anything, but it was definitely, you could see that there was a line drawn with you about being about your Father's business. And I want to transition now, because now you are a husband, you have a beautiful wife, you're a father now, your son and your daughter. I want to transition now about your life after coming into the knowledge of Christ and coming into the knowledge of what your purpose is. Talk to our beautiful viewing audience a little bit about now being married, being a father, and that transition, what that's been like for you.
Oh man, it was a struggle in the beginning of my walk, because your lower nature man always try to find his way back. But as time went on, and the more, one thing I've learned is the more you believe in the word, the more you walk that word out, the more you understand that your life is purpose, like there's a purpose in your life. The more you realize that you can't live the way you want to live or the way you used to live.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a way of living, and you said it right. Being married now, that wouldn't have happened in my old nature. You know what I'm saying? I'm having kids, and I had a lot of abortions. You get what I'm saying, though? So where I'm at now is God's glory, right? But not only that, it's a decision that I made years ago, and the seed got planted, and I'm seeing the harvest of it. You know what I'm saying? Because
come on now,
it's not that being married is like but it's a situation where you have to. It's humbling. You know what I'm saying? So I see they like a humbling experience. Raise kids in a household where I'm not just a baby daddy. I'm coming to check up on my kids and bring them to school, and that's it. No, I'm in a household with my kids to fight this fight together is awesome. It's awesome. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, man. It's accountability. It's a game changer. So I wouldn't change it. That's all I can say. I don't know what to say. I wouldn't change it.
Listen, you don't, after that, you don't have to say anything, because I tell you, that is truly what it is about. Like, when we do things God's way, again, it's not that we're not going to have challenges, but there is nothing like being in His will and life happens. It's nothing like being in a relationship with a godly individual and to be able to go through the trials and tribulations together, knowing that you have a praying wife, knowing that you get a chance. I think, oh my God, I think that was just so powerful. And beautiful viewers, I want you all to really like hear what he's saying. Like, yes, we know there are situations where that relationship didn't work out, and now you're co-parenting and you're trying to get that right and get the feelings out of the way. But here's the thing: when he made the decision to follow God for real, when he decided that his lower nature was not going to determine the decisions that he was going to make in his life, to be able to work as hard as he does during the day and come home and be able to tuck his children in the bed, be able to wake up with them, that's everything. Like, to be able to now, Brother Fritz, instill in your children, these values that you now have from knowing Christ. Talk a little bit about what impact that has now made on even the young men that you're working with now. You do a lot in the community and you're giving back to young men. Talk a little bit about that and what you're doing in the very areas that you grew up in.
So the first thing I'm gonna say is, one of the biggest impacts that I noticed is, when people see change, they gravitate to it, So even now, when the young men that I work with, I used to work with, when they're going through their struggles in life, they'll give me a call, and I'm able to like speak to them, because it's not just what I used to be though, but I'm no longer that, and I'm walking in my calling every single day. You know what I'm saying? So one thing I've learned, JQ, just imagine if I would have went back, right? Imagine how much people are attached to me right now, like young men attached to me right now, that would never see like, a true transparency and a change. You know what I'm saying? So the fact is just simple. I change, he gets glorified, which is God, and every single day I'm impacting somebody's life, especially the young men that I work with, because I got young men that I work with, man. I got a young kid I'm working with now, and I remember he told me, he's like, yo, Mr. Fritz, yo, you changed for real. And it's like, because he sees it every single day. He sees that who I used to be and where I'm at now, you know what I'm saying? And how people talk about me that he knows or whatever. And he sees like, well, this dude is not that person anymore at all. You know what I'm saying? This thing is for real. Like, I realize in order to have an impact, you have to stay on track, right? Just imagine a train going from different locations, and it goes off track, right? The impact is gonna be crazy, because it's gonna leave a lot of accidents in its pathway. But if it stays on the rail that it started on, right, it's impacting wherever it goes. That's how your life has to be. Your life can't be that train that gets off the railing. You got to stay on the railing, stay on track. And so, how I become an impact, because I stay focused, man. Even when I fall a few times in my lifetime, I get back and I say, you know what, God, I'm not going back, because somebody is attached to my life that needs to know that this is possible.
Yes.
You go right there.
I love it because it really comes down to understanding that, like, our lives are not our own, that there are so many people attached to our lives that aren't waiting for us to fall. They're actually waiting for us to get to that place, stay on track, get to that destination. And I'm so grateful that has been your decision, that you're not going back. And so as we close out, Brother Fritz, I want you to share how our beautiful viewers can get in touch with you. He will be phenomenal to speak to your youth groups, to young adult ministries, things of that nature. So share with our beautiful viewing audience how they would get in touch with you.
So you can email me at uncommon, the number 4, Christ 305 at gmail.com. My Facebook page name is, I think it's Fritz Vellmet on Facebook. Let me check.
It is. It is.
Yeah, so I think it's Fritz Vellmet on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm sorry, guys. I should have this stuff on me. Right? I should have stuff on me. Well, on Instagram, it is uncommon for Christ. No, sorry. Uncommon. Hold on. Uncommon 3. I'm sorry. Uncommon 3.
Uncommon 3.
Or uncommon _3.
Awesome.
And then other than that, you can go to JQ and she reach out to me also.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
it.
And so definitely, I want you all to definitely connect with Brother Fritz. As I said, he's had an opportunity to be our first male speaker at our purity retreat that we did with the youth a few years ago. And when I tell you, like, the young people just had so many questions for him. And my sister Linda was also a co-presenter for that purity retreat and for One Night with the King. And so I'm so grateful to know you, Brother Fritz. Truly, truly, the Savior makes the difference. And so continued blessings to you. And at this time, I want to turn it over to our thank yous as we begin to wrap up. It's so important for us to understand just this blessed life that we truly get a chance to live in God. And so, we have to get to the place where we don't take anything for granted. And so we want to thank you all for tuning in. Here's the information for A Beautiful Life. We are on Facebook. This show is also on YouTube. You get a chance to go back and view some of our old shows. And as always, we always want to be able to end with understanding the most beautiful gift that we will ever get was already given by Jesus Christ on the cross. And so we get to live a beautiful life because for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. So accept his beautiful, beautiful gift on today. Take care.
I'm living a beautiful life. I'm making a beautiful life. I'm changing, rearranging. I see a beautiful day.